This video was graded with Dehancer. Editing Nimi here. I'm currently working on the video that you are watching right now, but I have a confession to make. In order to make this video work, I've decided to start using animations in order to explain the complex topics I tend to talk about, and in order to make that even more realistic, I started doing 3D animation, and that works well, but it took me nearly 3 hours to do a very simple one, and then I decided to hire an artist. But the artist also obviously works a full-time job, and this channel isn't big enough to pay him what he actually wants, so I can't really wait on the artist to get my work done. Some of the clips in this video are going to be 3D animated, some are going to be hand animated by an artist, and some are going to be AI generated. And I know that is a sin, especially coming from a photographer, but the more this channel grows, the less AI we have to use. So please hit the subscribe button, show some love so that we can give jobs back to people instead of AIs. But anyways, enjoy the rest of the video. Also look at my mic, it's so pretty, it's yellow. As you can see, we're not in a full park today, we are just in my back garden because I had no other option and I wanted to get this filmed as soon as possible. So, the Sony FX5 is now out. Internal RAW, XLCN, and finally Sony's implementation of open gate recording. After months of dubious leaks, rumors, and dreams for internal NDs, all we got was an FX3 on trend, which honestly has different menus and definitely targets a completely different market than what the FX3 was known and popular for, but that's a topic for another video. There's a lot to gas over in this scenario, but today we're going to focus on the main thing, the FX5 look. You see, the FX5 actually implements some of Canon technology. It's called dual gain output. It essentially reads the sensor twice at a low gain circuit and a high gain circuit in order to merge in the middle. Canon originally introduced this on C70, but it was Super 35 sensor and it was really low resolution. So Sony has finally managed to make this high res, and it leads to this very nice, beautiful look. My iPad is about to die and I have my script on there. So today we are going to be recreating the look of a DJO sensor, aka the FX5 look, directly in Dehancer. We've kindly sponsored today's video. Use the code NIMI down below to get a discount when you're buying Dehancer. It does support the channel. Film is a mixture of art and chemistry that messes with human biology. It makes us feel things. Film is absolutely incredible for what it is and how it came about. Since the embargo videos came out, I've been mainlining them straight into my veins with absolutely no remorse. The FL1 look essentially desaturates and saturates parts of blue and teal to give the sky a very nice look. It reduces sharpness and it also creates a nice fall off in the sky. It also adds a bit of grain, but it's more placid on top instead of baked into the image. According to Sony, and permit me while I read from my script, FL1 tones down some colors while enhancing sky, greenery, and contrast. This makes a good choice for natural landscapes with sea, sky, mountains, and other subjects against the blue sky. So basically, it's the ultimate landscape LUT. I've seen people using it for portraits, and it looks really good, especially on Kofi Aboa's channel. Please, Papa Kofi, accept me as your Nigerian son. Notice on the corner of the screen, there is a hat by Dab. I don't know if that's going to focus. Dab Collections. They are a very close-to-home brand founded in Manchester. They make streetwear clothing, but it's really high-quality stuff. And it is basically going to be our spec ad for today. Well, spec ad / commercial. He gave me one of these when I went to Jiggy Fest, if you saw any of my posts. And that is the test footage you saw at the start of the video. And I will play the full ad in the middle of the video at some point.
Oh, we've been walking for so long. How long do we have?
What do you mean? Won't fly.
I plan to make the sky a main character of this next video. So we're going to be floating in the sky. There's going to be some green screen work if Future Nimi can sort that out. Right, Future Nimi? Okay. Apologies for the change in look, scene, and probably camera quality. We are currently driving to our next location so that we can use an associate's trampoline. If you guys were, living in my house, which would be very weird to begin with, but if you were living in my house, you'd see that I dismantled my entire living room and turned it into like a green screen infinity wall so that I could shoot this shot. Turns out we know someone who has a trampoline, which makes this a whole lot better. It's a lot safer and a lot more realistic if you just have a trampoline. The tagline for this shoot is basically feel flight, as in feel cool. But the twist on it is that we're going to have people actually floating and flying around the screen. But we're also going to cut it so that it can be used in Instagram. So we are going to be recording in ProRes 422 so that I can have as much flexibility to color grade in post. I've never done that before and actually had to use SSD recording on my S5IIX, which I almost never do. It should give us a lot more information, especially a lot more pixel values in order to green screen stuff out. Depending on how much energy we have, we will likely be going to the Peak District to film some handheld like cinematic shots that will go along with the story of the jumping and things. If you want to check out DAP Collections, feel free to check out anything linked in the description because I will reach out to them to see if they have anything they'd like to promote, including said hat. Let's talk about the 5 main characteristics that film has that makes it look like film. All right. First characteristic of film is fall off is one of film's most noticeable features. It is essentially the reason why people still choose film over digital, or people still do film outs where they record something in digital and then project it onto film, and that way they can get the film look and detail without having to deal with digital. Fall off, back to the topic, is how film renders bright spots and contrasty scenes. Essentially, digital sensors have a limit. When the pixels get oversaturated with light, they immediately clip, which basically means once they're too bright, all the detail there is gone. And it's a very harsh transition between smooth gradients of clouds and then white point. So it's better to have a very gradual fade, which is why things like ND filters exist in order to bring down the overall exposure and hope you can lift things back in post. But film doesn't need any of that. Film is photochemical. So essentially, when the silver halide crystals get overloaded with light, they tend to just very gradually fade off and lose saturation and contrast. So film has a very gradual fall off when it gets incredibly bright and overexposed. If there's enough light on your skin, it will generally smooth out all the detail instead of having everything be super sharp and detailed. Also, another reason why people really like film. So to sum it up, film creates very smooth transitions between multiple colors and multiple shades of brightness.
For the first one, I just want to do the spin, okay?
If it's going to show, so we're shooting at 180 shutter, 150 FPS at full HD. And this is all intro, so we'll have each individual frame to slow down. All right. And we're monitoring on the Viltrox over there. All right, Lasha, you ready? Okay.
Which one am I doing first? Spin.
The spin, yeah. The next thing to talk about is halation. If you see in this video, I have a black mist filter on, and you might see the tiniest bit of halation around my body. Halation is basically what happens in film when a crystal of silver halide gets hit so hard that it can't actually absorb all that light energy and therefore expend some of that light energy to the crystals around it. And what that creates is a glow around a very bright point. You've seen a lot of people over-exaggerate that in every single cinematic reel that you've seen on Instagram. Grain. Noise is bad, ugly, disgusting stuff that shows up in all your footage, especially if you've just bought that brand new FX5 and you have no idea what that ISO button does, so you just keep cranking it because it makes the video look better. Bigger number means better. Yeah. On celluloid, grain is actually something that's loved. Just remember, grain is not the same as noise. Noise is what happens when electrical signals get amplified through the gain circuits in the camera, and it creates artifacting and excess energy, which is then translated into your image. Depending on the architecture of the sensor, the pixels can be made to have realistic grain-like noise. Grain, on the other hand, comes from film, because it's the actual grains of silver crystals that actually give that image the texture. When you see grain in film,
it moves with the image, not on top of the image. You see, each frame of film is actually its own image, and each frame of film will have its own crystal structure that's completely different. But when you see a video from film, each single frame has its own unique grain pattern. You see new ones in new positions all the time. So it's actually baked into the image. Whereas in digital, it tends to be a single grain texture that's just plastered over the entire image. That's why Dehancer has a very accurate film grain plugin that actually moves and shifts with every frame. So it looks a lot more realistic. And if you add it at the start of your node tree, it actually bakes into all of your color grading so that the grain isn't just a texture that's on top of the image. It's a texture that's built into the image. So it reacts with all of your color shifts and your white balance shifts and anything you add into your complicated node tree, because everyone needs to have 12 nodes. Density is something I can't really explain. I'm going to read this from script because, like I said, I don't really understand this concept. Film, when oversaturated during processing, becomes underexposed. This makes skin tones and colors gain more detail, more separation, and look hyper vibrant. This works in certain settings but shouldn't be overdone.
So we are hiking to the next location. I did not plan to hike today, but it just kind of happened. I thought we just drive and park and we'll teleport to the top of the mountain. Turns out you have to climb.
This creates a blue teal look in the skies in FL1. There we go, we're back to FL1. So density is essentially a thing that occurs when you're in the middle of processing traditional film. And like when you add more saturation, it starts to underexpose the image, but then it also brings back a lot of detail. In these few shots, which I will show, which I got from another Japanese YouTuber who I cannot pronounce the name, but I will give you credit, also helps recover a lot of sky detail. So film will have its natural fall off, but then when it's underexposed in the editing room, get back that highlight detail, you then oversaturate the skies. One of the main reasons why FL1 looks so good on landscapes and these floating shots with Dab Collections hat. If I actually pull off this edit, Kodachrome gives you density for all days and makes everything look super sharp and vibrant and colorful and rich. Porter 400 with its very warm tones. Source is something you can't replicate.
Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death,
I shall fear no evil.
I shall fear no evil.
Hey, Daddy.
I shall fear no evil. Daddy me. This one a leg day. We made it. We're at the summit. How do you feel, Lasha?
I feel fulfilled.
Is it taking a video? Wait.
I have partnered with Dehancer for this, and I am going to read the script because I wrote a lot of things that I took a lot of time to write. Dehancer essentially takes scans of legendary film stocks and actually replicates the exact process that was meant to happen according to manufacturer standards. So they take Porter 400 and process it exactly the way that it was meant to be processed, and they take account of all the color shifts, all the white balance shifts, and all the detail and grain from those film scans, and then they translate that into ones and zeros that can be applied to your footage procedurally, so they react to how you edit. And they have software that works for your iPhone if you just want to do photos at a really affordable price. They have software that's now standalone, which is basically like my new post Lightroom workflow. If I am going for a film look, I will edit all my stuff in Lightroom, and then I'll just jump over to Dehancer desktop and just choose what film stock that I want this to look like. It's really useful. This is actual film scans, not just LUTs created by people on the internet. Dehancer gives you access to all these film emulations for a really affordable price. But frankly, when I got approached for this sponsorship, I wasn't sure if I wanted to take it because of how expensive it was in the past for me. But now that I've seen the new offerings for Dehancer desktop and how they're supporting new softwares like full-on DaVinci Resolve, full-on Adobe plugins, and now they have Dehancer mobile, which basically works on your phone, and you upload a picture, choose your film stock, and it will just give you the look at a reasonable price. I think this is one of the best times to actually start using Dehancer. And if you want to try it out, use code NIMI down below and you will have full access to the software. And you do get a discount. It does help the channel. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I greatly appreciate if you did. So there we go. Now we have turned my Lumix S5 into a Sony FX5. See, they both got X and 5s in there. But yeah, the film look that we achieved, you guys can see them side by side. Which one do you like? Which one do you think is more accurate? This is the version from Kofi Yeboah. This is my rendition, and this is that just Spring Portrait from Lumix Lab that looks pretty similar. Okay, maybe the random people on the internet are pretty good at making LUTs. But you guys let me know, did we successfully make a fake FX5? And if I film this on my 35 1.4, we could maybe fake some DZO Arcana vibes. Maybe that's what my channel is going to be, just faking like I have expensive stuff. I hope you've enjoyed this video so far, and I greatly appreciate if you do all the interactions. It does make the video show up more in the algorithm. So like, comment, share, hype if that's still a thing on YouTube, and make sure to just show some love. I will be going into more details. I will probably do a photo editing tutorial on Dehancer, because somewhere in this I will walk through their other offerings, so that at least that way there's more comprehensive coverage. Don't forget to use code NIMI in checkout. But yeah, see you guys another time.